Alright, evening everybody. I'm ShoFukomachi, and this is the Crystalis Randomizer. So what I'm going to do is, with me, I have Matrick and the Axeman, who are also participants in the tournament, and the Axeman has written the task for this game. And then we're doing tournament finals flags with no map randomization. So they'll describe that and what that entails, and then, yeah. So we'll, after I input the name, we'll get started here. Alrighty, are we ready, guys?
Let's do it.
All right.
Oh yeah.
All right, we're gonna get a countdown, and 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
All right, SpeedCon, welcome to Crystalis Randomizer. For those of you that are not familiar with Crystalis, this is an NES action RPG, a game that is focused around 4 different elements: wind, water, fire, and earth, and the enemies in the game that all share and are immune to the different elements. The primary objective of this game is to find the 3 bows that are necessary, as well as the flight spell, plus all of the swords, and clear all of the game's bosses. Doing that allows you access into the final area of the game, which is the tower, and that is where the final encounter against Dinah will happen. So immediately here, Sho's going to pick up a couple items and leave, and he's going to head straight over. He's going up into the cave here. He got the windmill key, so he's going to go and hit the windmill, which is going to get him access to some items right off the bat. The windmill does have a couple of free items.
Okay,
he does not have a sword.
Can I interrupt you to read a quick donation, please?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Alright, I have a donation from Duskplume for $10. And the comment goes, multiply this amount by 10 for the percent Show will reach by the end of this run.
Okay, so I can actually explain what that means here. Nice sword. So if you look at the bottom right of the screen, next to where it says level, there is a counter. And that counter refers to the number of key and unique items that are found in the game. Axe, what's the maximum scaling we can find in this game?
It comes up to like 48, 47, 47.
I think 47 in this flags.
Yeah, 47 is the maximum flag. Now, technically there are a couple of more items that actually can get you past that, but the game stops its scaling value at 47. And that gets you all of the plot critical items for every turn-in, every quest, every drop, everything. And, oh, nice, robot!
Oh, wow. So some of the flags we have take the robots from the endgame tower, and put them in the cave. But that was a nice pickup.
Alright, I'm going to have to interrupt you again because I have another donation that just came in. Duskplume's $10 did go towards the Super Mario 64 Randomizer Seed Bid War. And I have an anonymous donation of $70 from Anonymous, and the comment is Rummel.
Thank you for the donations. Thank you, Dusk. We'll see if we get 100%.
So while those donations were coming in, Sho picked up a couple of items there in the Cave of Earth. One of the important ones was the rabbit boots. As you can see, he's jumping up and down right now. The rabbit boots allow you to jump, but they also allow you to charge your sword while walking, which is something that you're not actually able to do in the base game. Normally, you have to stop to charge your sword or stutter charge, but the rabbit boots allow him to charge up to level 2 while he's in full movement.
Another interesting thing we saw in that cave is something new in the randomizer, a wall shuffle. So normally the walls in that cave can be destroyed with the wind sword, but as we saw, those walls do not look normal. Those walls are fire walls that get destroyed by the sword of water. Something that's not in the base game, but can be in the randomizer.
Currently using the statue glitch here. The normal game trigger requires you to see the waterway back there in order for the queen to give you an item that's necessary to make progress normally. But there's a glitch in the game that statue NPCs that are stuck in place, you can actually move against them in a very specific direction, and you'll get pushed behind them. And that's what he did to clip through that NPC and get inside the door there so that we could get that free item from the queen, which turned out to be an antidote.
So the thing about this wall shuffle is Sho doesn't know which caves he's going to have access to. Normally, you would need the Sword of Fire to beat the walls in this cave, but as we can see, it's also the Sword of Water for these walls. So there's no way to know without actually going in there and checking. So he's sort of got to check some of these caves.
Yeah, this version of the randomizer does not include some additional cave sets and some additional randomization that later versions did. And so because of that, his early accessible areas are only going to be the Valley of Wind, Portoa, and if this wall here is a wind wall, it's going to give him access to the Cordell Plains area. And what do you know? It's a wind wall. So in this case, there's a new flag that's on called RO, and what the RO flag means that you're able to destroy walls with a level 1 charge. Normally, you're required to have an item that's the ball of whatever element it is, and that lets you charge up to level 2, which will allow you to destroy walls. But in this case, that flag allows him to destroy them with a level 1 charge, which is something that's very nice. Okay, so he's laughing over here right now. Because what he's doing is he's using a failsafe that was put into the game for a while, which is called tinking. So normally, if you do not have the proper element for an enemy and you attack it, it just tinks off and doesn't do any damage. Earlier versions of the randomizer do allow you to do 1 damage to enemies you do not have the proper element for. So he stabbed that thing up against the wall 67 times and was able to get his experience and gold and move on. One of the very interesting things about this particular game is that it's a combination of, treasures that are found in the world and also a lot of turn-in quests. And so, items like the ivory statue that he's found and the flute of lime, they're all different keys that unlock different, quests throughout the game. And so, because the turn-ins are randomized, this ivory statue could go to literally any NPC. In this case, Akahana, who's holding onto another sword. Nice.
Yeah, so instead of the statue of Onyx, he wanted the ivory statue. And most of these NPCs will give you a hint when you talk to them about what they want. He'll say, like, I want what is it, some sort of special statue or stuff, instead of I want an unusual statue.
Correct. It was an exotic statue in the case of the ivory statue. An unusual statue refers to the base statue, which is the statue of Onyx.
So we've got scaling, and we see Sho keep killing enemies to get level ups and gold. And that's because we need a certain amount of levels. Well, I guess you don't need any particular level to beat any enemy, but practical sense, you really do.
Correct. In the base game, all enemies have a minimum level requirement to be able to damage them. But in the randomizer, those are removed. And the only real bar you have for damaging enemies is having enough offensive ability to break their guard. So as long as you can do more damage than whatever their defensive value is, you can do damage to them. But as enemies continue to scale up, if you're not gaining levels, eventually you're not doing enough damage to get through their defense, and you're hitting them for 1, even if it is making the proper sound to do damage. So, getting all of these levels allows him to continue to be able to damage enemies regularly. Not to mention it gives him more health, more mana, and allows him to, more quickly clear through enemies.
Another thing we're seeing is the effects of the rabbit boots. So a secondary effect that the randomizer adds to the rabbit boots, where you can actually charge your sword while moving. It does change the mechanics of the sword swing a little bit, which it makes your sword swing faster, which is kind of annoying sometimes when you're trying to stab the enemies. Your sword swing is so fast that you kind of miss the enemy.
Yeah, so the way the sword actually works is that the hitbox for the sword... Mimic? The hitbox for the sword... Oh no. There it is. Boom!
Oh, no.
First death of the way goes to a warlock. So he got turned into a slime there. They shot out a curse beam, turned him into a slime. He didn't have a Fruit of Repin to get rid of it, so outside of leaving the screen, dying is the only way to get rid of that. So Sho took the easy way out. But we were talking about the sword mechanics. So the sword itself actually, the hitbox starts inside of the player and moves out from there. So as Axe was mentioning, when you're mashing the sword really fast, you actually can get points where the sword is being reset every time you hit the button, and you're not actually hitting the enemy. So you just kind of run your face into them, and it can be a little annoying.
The hit detection between your sword and the enemy only happens every other frame. So if you kind of keep banging on it and your sword is only out on the bad frames, you can't actually keep stabbing and never hit the enemy.
That's awesome.
Of course, the enemies, their hit detection against you happens every frame. You're not getting out of that.
Yeah, as those warlocks showed us.
These plant things are great for experience. All of the scaling, as your number of key items. So the number of key items is that the scaling factor, right now it's 8. You can see it by his level there. And as that level goes, that scaling factor goes up, the enemies will give more experience, more gold, but they'll also do more damage. But he needs to keep beating these enemies in order to get that up. And some enemies will sort of kind of punch above their weight as far as what they give in gold and experience. So those plant things are an example of enemy it's pretty easy to beat and pretty good payoff as far as how much it gives you. So one of the enemies that you kind of tend to beat as you're walking through these dungeons.
Yeah, if you watch the enemy patterns, you'll notice that there's a number of different types of enemies. There's ones that, like these plants here, that they just kind of move slow and meander in your general direction. There's ones that move around randomly in different directions based on what the RNG calls for. There are enemies that fly. There's ones that move really fast. There's ones that move really slow. And so all enemies fall into one of these different AI patterns. And any enemy like zombies, spiders, plants, anything that moves slow is nice that you can actually just kind of push them along and get nice amounts of experience off of them with relative safety. Things like that little red brain that you saw, that thing moves all over the place and randomly, so they're annoying. Oh, flail guy! Yes!
Nice.
Oh, God, and I'm poisoned.
One of the awesome things about this game is that everything poisons you. If it doesn't poison you, it paralyzes you, or drains your MP, or turns you to stone, or into a slime.
Yeah, status effects in this game are very, very prevalent. And one of the interesting things about it is that the status effects do not stack. And so because of this, if he gets poisoned and an enemy comes along and paralyzes him, well, his poison goes away. Same thing with, like paralyze or petrification. You can only have one status effect at a time. Nice! 3 swords out of 4. And 1 bow.
Your sword opens up quite a bit. Not only does it have the vanilla effect of being able to make the bridges, so there's these ice bridges that you can make over some of the waterways. As we saw, some of the caves have these firewalls that you can break down with that water sword. So that's actually a pretty big, but it's the one sword that he doesn't have is the one that Rage wants.
Oh, shoot.
Sho's trying to execute a very, very cool glitch here. And it's a tricky one to get here. You've got to get... Yeah, you've got to get these guys to knock you diagonally so that you get knocked into the area. you can't get knocked straight to the left or straight to the right or straight up or down. If you get knocked, the way this works is that rage pushes you straight down. So if you can get knocked diagonally, you'll be knocked into the room, but not quite.
Try just standing still when you come out.
Yeah. So one of the things that the randomizer changes recently is, actually, I'm not sure if this version does it. So the placement of the enemies is different. And in the vanilla game, if you just walk straight out of this exit, the flyer will come in and knock you in perfectly. But in the randomizer, when the enemies are in different positions, and so it may not happen.
Yeah, and there may not always be a flyer. Only a flyer.
There we go.
There he goes. Nice. Nailed it. Okay, so this is what we call the rage skip glitch. And so, like his ex mentioned, since he pushes you straight down and throws you out the door, getting there allows you to get into the back room, which is a trigger that's necessary to access 2 more checks inside of Portoa. So he used that glitch there to be able to get access to both Asina and the Dolphin's items that are within the Portoa waterway. Jeez, these robots. Out for blood.
Okay,
So,
do
in
I
the
have
base-
time to read a donation perchance?
Always.
Yeah.
Alright, I have a donation in the name of Aiden Chronicles for $15. Comment goes, "Hey, it's Aiden Chronicles the game here. Thanks so much for featuring me in a marathon. I'm so sorry that I corrupted Elastoid's save file. I was just super excited by how hyped the run is. It usually never happens to me, I swear. This donation is to thank the Hangry Canuck for reading his lines so well during the end of the run. Children are conspicuously absent from the world of Aiden Chronicles, so here's hoping this money can improve lives in some of the 120 countries that Save the Children operates in." Well, thank you so much, Aiden Chronicles, for that $15 donation. That is much appreciated, and that will be put to good use. So, once again, thank you very much for your donation, and yeah, I will send it back to the runners now.
And thank you so much to both Asina and the Dolphin for a pair of consumables. Right there.
Yeah.
Good job.
So this is something that's not in the base game. The logic's been shifted a little. Normally, seeing that answering machine message from Mija, the heroine, is just pointless. But in the randomizer, that actually unlocks the queen going back and revealing herself as Asina, the wise woman, whatever, and then also the dolphin appearing and being there. Hey, give me a medical herb and heal me. And that gives you 2 items. That's a sequence break that you can get later. In this case, it was nothing. There's been cases where it wasn't so nothing.
Is that our 4th mimic? I think that's our 4th mimic.
Looks like count 3.
Count 3. Okay, never mind. That is our 3rd mimic. Kenshin, thank you for keeping track of our mimic count here in chat today.
Oh god, butterflies.
Oh, good. So, butterflies. Let's talk about butterflies for a moment. So, butterflies are spectacular enemies, and in the base game, they actually have some of the highest contact damage that you're going to run into, and that doesn't change here in the randomizer. Now, while they do scale, they still hit like a truck. So, you don't want to get bodied by a butterfly, ever. They are the bringers of nightmare.
And of course, even if you miss them, they scatter. Actually, after you kill them, they scatter poison pollen that paralyzes you.
They sure do. They're obnoxious. Apparently, Sho's getting married because he's getting all the rings together right now. This cave is providing everything he needs. Too bad Mezia wasn't actually in the place and it was just an answering machine message.
Oh!
This butterfly. If you notice there, that butterfly did like almost 2/3 of his health there with one bop. He doesn't want to get hit by them at all. So then the waterfall cave here, you saw him use the flute of lime there on some statues. He could have glitched his way through them, but because he had the flute already, he may as well do it. Now that statue of Akahana, the guy he gave the ivory statue to earlier, you are required to have the fruit of lime to unpetrify him and get his item, which today he coughed up a consumable.
Did you
Now
catch the hint from the stone people?
He didn't get it.
I didn't see it.
Ah,
Because who reads? But we did get a hint from Asina, and she said barriers on the whirlpool.
is this even randomized?
I know, right? So, time to go and check the Fog Lamp Cave now. The Fog Lamp Cave is a large network of caves that has 4 items in it. So, when he went to the Carissa Plant Cave, which is the one on the south side, that one required a Thunder Sword to get through. But the Fog Lamp Cave he does have access to, as it has vanilla wind walls. So he's able to fully explore this. There are 4 items in here. 3 of them are very close to the front, and the 4th one is a 37-mile hike, you know, up and down the world over twice to get to the last item. A lot of times you'll see, you know, some players that'll just go for the first 3 items, and they'll just bail, you know, because it's, you know, one check. And if they have to come back, they can. But just depends on whether or not, you know, they want to risk the gamble. Especially in a race environment. Now, Show's not racing, but that is definitely a very valid strat.
We see a lot of these mimics, and Show's been sort of just leaving them by. And the mimics can be annoying. They can poison you, they can do a lot of damage, but they can also give you a lot of gold and experience, particularly a lot of gold. And that money is useful because the shop glitch that lets you buy items for free in the randomizer has been patched out. And so if you're going to buy consumables like warp boots because you don't have the teleport spell, you've got to have the money to pay for it.
All the shops in the game are also affected by that scaling factor as well. Basically, whatever the base price of an item was that you saw at the beginning of the game, it doubles in value about every 5 points of scaling, as I recall. Inns are every 10 points of scaling. They double in cost. So it doesn't take much for warp boots, which are one of the most commonly purchased items, to get to thousands of gold a piece. Same with magic rings, which completely refill your MP. So you can get to a situation where you need 700, 800, 900 gold for every pair of warp boots to get around the map. And if you can't find the teleport spell, those things are precious. There's only so many of them found around the world.
Luckily, that scaling factor only goes up on key items. It's got to be something unique. So you notice we've been finding a lot of consumables, and our scaling factor is still at 9. So unless we find, you know, actual swords or armor or other power-ups, that scaling factor is not going to come up.
Definitely not. Especially with a medical herb. So as you notice, those warp boots are 102 gold at 9 scaling. By the time that he gets to, you know, 35 or 40 scaling, those things will be probably about 1,500 gold a pair. Time to go back into the windmill cave now. He's going to go in the back door here and fight the boss right off the bat, because that door is open when you open the front side. So this is the vampire, and Sho makes very quick work of him. He's just kind of an RNG mess.
This guy is usually the first boss that you first sub boss that you fight in the game, and I guess it ended up also being the first sub boss in this run too.
Yeah. So this cave is still infested with robots. That's beautiful. This is a consumable. What happens is when you pick up a chest and it tells you have too many items, that tells you it's a consumable. The thing is that, you know, since he needs warp boots, he needs magic rings, there are opal statues that are limited, but they basically are an extra life if you die. He does want to be able to pick up some of those things because they are, you know, very useful as the game goes on. Magic rings are not as useful early, but at the end of the game, when you've got 200 MP, you know they're at a premium. Great.
Nice.
Okay, so he grabbed the Sword of Thunder there, and the Sword of Thunder in the vanilla game teleports you straight into Shiren. And so you see here, it took him right to Shiren, where he was able to get to Zebu, which gave him another item, and then he's off to the other side of the world. So normally, you require the dolphin, you need to go through a dungeon to unlock, to make a special item that removes the whirlpool. You need the change spell to trick some guards, and then you finally get access to this half of the world. But because the Thunder Sword there warped him over here to the other side of the world, he now has access to almost the entire world. He has all 4 swords. He has access to break all the walls. About the only thing he's missing at this point is the flight spell, and then the whole world will be open to him. And then it becomes a treasure and boss hunt. Smash and grab.
That teleport is actually completely part of the logic. So that's something that sometimes that's your only way to get through the seed is to keep that teleport. Sometimes it happens early, and then you come back to the beginning and you forget, oh, wait a minute, I can teleport back to Shiren. If you don't have the water sword, you can't build that water bridge and sort of like get from Shiren back into this area. So if you get the Sword of Thunder kind of like first or real early, you might get to Shiren but sort of be stuck there. But since Sho has all the swords, he's pretty much got the entire world open. Well, I guess whatever he can get to without flight.
Yeah, he's got the Oasis Cave here. He can fully loot this place in the front half of it anyway.
Well, some of it. There's a few chests here. Well, there's one chest in this area. Yeah.
It's okay, because he's going to find flight in this first chest that he opens. I can feel it.
So
there's a...
picked up change.
There's a wall... So there's one chest in the middle here that's the vanilla power ring spot, and that chest, it has a wall in front of it that we don't know what sword it is, but since Sho has every sword now, we know we'll be able to break that wall with one of them.
So that was the Bow of Moon. One of the 3 bows, the Bow of Sun, Bow of Moon, and Bow of Truth that are required to complete the game. The Bow of Sun and Moon are necessary to open the crypt at the backside of the desert, and the Bow of Truth reveals the penultimate final boss's true form. So he has the Bow of Truth and the Bow of Moon, and so now he's 2/3 of the way of the stuff that he needs to get in there. We'll just need flight.
I just need flight. I picked up change, I thought, but I don't have
You did.
it. I died, didn't I?
You did.
Shoot.
Do you remember where you died?
Wait. Okay.
You died on Saber South.
Saber South. Okay.
Yeah.
As that may be important.
It may be. Change is one of these things. It's not strictly necessary to finish a game, but it opens up quite a few spots, and so kind of most of the, I'd probably say a majority, especially in this flag set, you're probably going to get change in a majority of the flags, or more majority of seeds.
Yeah, so also the fact that he had gotten that ivory statue early does give him access to the guy that we call Brokahana. And he is actually Akahana's friend, that after you acquire the ivory statue, if you go change into Akahana and go talk to him, he will give you the warrior ring in the base game. Not so much here, but he does hold something. Is it useful? Well, he's got to go get change to find out. Across that bridge that he made right there, if he goes across the river, there is a town full of women called Amazonas. And within that town, there is a lady who has a chest in her basement. Now, I don't know about you, but every time I go into there, it's a stupid mimic. She likes to hide that thing down there just to screw the guys over who come into the town. She also has another item if you happen to have the change spell and the Carissa plant, or whatever item she actually wants today.
So we've got quite a few spots open. So Matrick, what's your guess on where Flight is going to be?
Well, let's think about this for a minute. So once he gets the change spell here, that'll open Swan. He doesn't have paralysis yet. It will allow him to get the item from Brokahana. Because he's got Priest Plant.
Oh, this was a Mimic. That's why I didn't check that, right?
No, I think the Mimic was a second chest in. I think this is the change chest.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I'm going to guess it's actually at the back of the Carissa Plant Cave now that he has the Sword of Thunder.
Oh, okay. Of course, there's a lot of very fun places that it could be, because the flags on this, the flags that Sho picked are actually pretty open, and logically, the entirety of Goa Fortress is now in Logic. So we could have Flight all the way in the back there. Should I be jinxing that?
That's beautiful. It could be in the axe chest too, though.
It could, but we would have to see the key for that, the Stixie key.
I called it. That jerk had another Mimic in her basement. Every time, I'm telling you, she loves to hide those things there. So let's see what Brokahana's hanging on to today. So if you notice the change... So if you notice the change spell there actually had 4 different forms. One of them is the Monk Apprentice Stom. One of them is a Dragonian Soldier. One of them is a woman. And the 4th one is Akahana himself. And each one of those forms is used in the game in somewhere. Okay, so what just happened here? He actually plowed through these statues, which is something that is potentially in Logic, because barrier may not be guaranteed in order to get through some of these places. So what he just did there is actually possibly the required thing to do, and in Logic. The randomizer for this game is actually extremely robust, and it actually reads the data directly from the game as to where everything is placed, so it knows where to find all these different things. And so the program, as it's looking through the game's data, knows exactly what areas he can go to at any given time, and knows exactly what's available whenever he picks up a new item. And because of that, whenever he finds something, the web continues to grow and open up, and it just keeps growing and growing and growing until he's found everything that he needs.
Looks like
this is a great place to encounter these guys.
Looks like Stom is getting tired.
Can't imagine why. Hopefully you don't trip over his face today.
Wait, I didn't want that.
So the joke about that with Stom is that when he walked into Goa Fortress here, there was a message that popped up saying that that the Dragonian forces had entered into Shiren and that they were killing everybody. Well, when you get to the town, there's a whole lot of people sleeping within the town. Nobody dies unless you talk to them. And so when you get there, there's all these people laying all over the ground. Well, one of those people is our old buddy Stom, who unfortunately got done in by Mado himself, who is one of Dragonia's 4 generals, along with Kelbesk here. And so depending on what Sho decides to do when he finds his way into Shiren, we'll see what he does to old Stom there.
So about the power level of your swords, your power level in the randomizer is determined by how your charge level for the sword. And so we've only got the ball for one sword. The other swords are all just at level 1. So that means we've got a fairly weak attack.
Correct. So the base game, the swords actually don't have any scaling value to them. What they do is that the Wind Sword has a base damage of 2, Fire 4, Water 8, and Thunder 16. No, I'm sorry, it's 1, 2, 4, 8, and then when you stab, it's doubled. That's why the numbers are what they are. But in the randomizer, at power level 1, your base damage is 2. At charge level 2, your base damage is 4, and at charge level 3, your base damage is 8. Then the charge attacks, like when he charges up to level 1, those add their damage on top of it. And then stabbing an enemy only ever adds 2 additional damage on top of your base. So we changed it specifically to make the charge attacks more attractive to use, as opposed to just stabbing everything you come across, because stabbing in the base game is far higher DPS than using the charge attacks. So we opted to alter that within the randomizer. So using a charge attack whenever possible actually does more damage per hit.
But Sho's situation right now has one advantage, though, is that his scaling is particularly low for compared to what you would often have going through this area. And so even with a fairly low attack power, he's going to be all right beating these bosses, just because that scaling level is so low.
Yeah, well, scaling level potentially low. We'll see what happens here. Mato's area, well, that's going to raise the scaling a little bit. So the shield ring actually doubles the damage or the defense value of his projectile defense. Now, most enemies in the game don't use projectiles, and the only ones that are actually of any danger whatsoever are really the bosses. Bert can do some damage, but outside of that, most enemies are all physical damage. And so your chest armor and your iron necklace are going to be the ones that are going to raise your defense there. So one of the things here is that you'll notice he keeps trying every single sword when it comes to these iron walls. And that's because, unlike the rest of the walls in the game, which they all follow the same element when you get into a particular cave, here with the iron walls, each individual wall is randomized separately from all of the others. Wow, nice. Water. So because of that, he has to try every element on the wall to figure out which one it is that's actually going to get him through. So Sabera 2 here is one of the most notorious bosses in the randomizer, alongside of Mato 2. You want to tell him why, Axe?
So Sabera 2 has a particularly high defense, and so you can take a lot of hits, and she's moving around. You can't get close and stab her because she's got these, that little barrier around herself, and she's shooting at you from a distance. You can, as long as you keep your distance, you can avoid it. If you have the barrier spell, you can get close. So, and then she's firing those shots that like grab you and suck away your MP. Sho doesn't really have anything interesting to use in battle for to use his MP with, but yeah, it's just sort of a long, annoying fight, and he's got pretty much the weakest sword that he could have to fight this fight with. He doesn't have either of the swords he can charge to level 2, and even the Sword of Thunder. The Sword of Thunder, the level 1 attack, has those bigger thunder balls that are kind of more convenient to use. A lot of cases, so you see the shot actually travels through the enemy, and you can actually get multiple hits from the shot. I think it's like every 8 frames, your attacks sort of have a hit detection. So if you're passing the shot through the enemy sort of the long way, you can often get 2 hits. But with that tiny little ball that you get from the Sword of Water at level 1, probably not.
Yeah, you're not getting multiple hits. And not only that, but it actually moves at the fastest speed you can possibly move in the game. Nothing moves faster than those projectiles. And so, as Axe mentioned, getting 8 frames when this thing is moving as fast as it is almost not happening. Unless Sabera happens to be moving, in the same direction with the projectile, you might be able to get a couple hits at that point. But she's stationary a lot. She also has this nice, wonderful side effect that if you pay attention when it's not lagging, the lower her health goes, the faster she's going to go. And so, he'll get a kind of an indication here as to how far along in the fight he is, just based on her speed. When she starts getting really fast, he'll know that she's a little lower on health. and then, you know, he's just got to stick it out. But like Axe mentioned, he's probably only doing maybe 2 damage a hit, maybe even 1. So, you know, every level that you gain adds 1 damage, plus his sword's adding 2, and then the projectile's adding 3 more. So he's got 10 base damage. Well, in the base game, Sabera 2 comes stock with 13 defense. So scaled down, it's a lot. And at 17 scaling, she might actually be getting pretty close to getting up to that, you know, high defense value. So it's not unheard of that he's only doing 1 to 2 damage a shot here. So this could be a 10-minute fight.
It is possible to glitch your sword to level 2 with the sword charge glitch, but in this case, that would require walking all the way back through her area and all the way back through. He would have had to destroy the wall and come back, you know. So if he glitched the Sword of Water, he could still build the bridges, but he would have to switch swords. The problem with the sword charge glitch is that you have to, if you switch swords, then the glitch gets broken.
Opening the menu breaks the sword charge glitch.
Yeah. And so if you can glitch the sword to level 2, but then if he would switch his sword to break the barrier that's right in front of her lair here, oh no.
It might be worth doing it. It's up to him. So the other thing is, got another donation? Go right ahead.
No, I was just going to talk about the charity we are doing this marathon for, if I could get a few minutes.
Yeah, absolutely.
This fight looks like it's pretty much self-explanatory.
Yep.
The charity we are fundraising for is called Save the Children. And they have been around for a little over 100 years, and they do very good work helping children of the world to prevent illness, disease, and unfortunately death. So any donations you could provide would be very, very appreciated, and no donation is too small. With Save the Children here, even a donation as little as $1 could potentially save 4 kids from having an illness like pneumonia or some incurable disease. So if you feel that $1 is too little, it is not. So whatever you can afford. I know with this it's been trying times with COVID and everything going on in the world, but if there's anything you could spare, it would really go a long way to helping a lot of children. Alright, I'll give it back to the runners and the comms.
Thank you. Yeah, Save the Children sounds like a great organization doing great work. I agree and support it 100% myself as well. I think that's a wonderful cause. And I am happy to be part of the marathon that is helping to raise money to help the charity out. So show's continuing to fight Sabera here. As we mentioned, this one could be quite a long one. Not sure exactly if this is what's necessary. See, the fun part about this particular flag set is that because the seed is so open to him and he has so many different options, he really doesn't know what the right way to go is. And, you know, this is definitely potential, but it is not guaranteed to be the thing that's necessary to be done. Only if he clears the whole place out and doesn't really find anything special will he know for sure. Now, this is the story mode flag set, so this is a required thing to do at some point in the game, is to fully clear this dungeon and kill all 4 of the bosses that are in here. But it just doesn't mean that he needs to do it now in order to find the progression he needs to continue to make the game go forward.
But you know what? I think out of all the places that he has open right now, this is the most fun. And, you know, that's what it's all about.
Right? I'm in with you 100%. I mean, if you're going to take a chance and go big.
Yeah, don't do it on the insects.
So we ran a tournament on this game back in 2019. And during that tournament, a lot of locations got names after different runners. There was a lot of fun shenanigans and stuff that were happening. Players made They made some plays that didn't pan out. Others made some Hail Marys that did. And some people in chat that were around for most of the tournament and were part of it are laughing because he's talking about the giant insect where a particular runner who will remain nameless spent many minutes trying to do a tink fight against a giant insect, and he spent probably 8 minutes doing this fight, and when he finally got it killed, it rewarded him with a consumable. So that's why Sho's laughing about it, because this could turn out to be one of those kinds of things. Now, granted, when he kills Sabera, it does open up the next area of the dungeon, and there's a lot of chests in that area, so it's a very lucrative play to be making.
Of course, the next boss is even harder, so there's that.
The next boss is Mado 2, and Mado 2 is a ninja cannonball. And not only does he move at Mach 2, but he is also far cooler than you will ever be, because he is a ninja cannonball.
And unfortunately, Sho's not wearing any armor. I think he would be at a bit of a disadvantage.
Yeah. Mado can end the fight in as little as 2 seconds if he so desired. And sometimes it's like you just kind of go in there and pray that he doesn't, move into you 10 times in a row. Because he's too fast. There's no reacting to what he does. You just have to you just have to go with it and pray. Oh god. It's a good thing that those flames are actually unscaled, so they basically don't do much.
Woo!
Yeah, you did it!
Yay!
And it gave me something not
The
very
witch
good.
is dead. That's quality.
He was just talking about not having any armor, and then he goes and finds an iron necklace. Boo on your pun in chat. Boo.
So at the very least, there's 5 items I think he can get before he has to fight the next boss. So hopefully there will be something useful.
3 mimics and 2 consumables. Got it. Oh well, there's a turn-in item. Is that what Arilys wanted? I actually didn't catch it when you talked to the guard.
She wanted Onyx.
Okay. So you just got paralyzed by a spider.
I did.
Spiders are jerks.
Bats
So
are jerks.
That's okay, so there are 2 sides to that room that he's in right there, and both of them are known as the Hellway. And it's because what they are is they're rooms that have elevators that go across. And the elevators in this game are programmed so poorly that anything that touches you, it doesn't matter what it is, it will knock you off of the platform. Even if it doesn't actually knock you back, you will just fall through the platform and fall down the hole to the floor below, like he saw that bat bop him into the hole.
Or he'll just die.
There are multiple sets of these elevators on the other side. There are 2 elevators on the left and 4 on the right. In the base game, there are butterflies and invisible specters that guard the hallway there. So we can see this hellway's got bats in it, which is just as bad as butterflies because they have the same exact AI.
The bats don't hit very hard, but
But they hit hard enough to knock you off.
yeah.
Nice. Yes. Beautiful. This is amazing. So I made a joke about 3 mimics and 2 consumables, and well, I mean, we're well on our way.
And our chat's pointing out mimic count is up to 6 now.
Yeah.
It's pretty impressive given that our scaling's only at 19.
Right?
God! Okay.
Oh.
So what Sho just did right there is a trick called the Wild Warp. So this is basically a debug code that is still left in the game that is left over from the development of the game as they were testing the different areas.
Oh, look at that!
Oh, that would have been nice, right?
Yeah.
So the Wild Warp code has been repurposed. Instead of requiring 2 controllers, it now has a button input that is all on one controller. And in the case of this particular flag set,
Thanks, Biz.
Wild Warp only takes you back to the beginning of the game. It does not actually Wild Warp you around the map. Now there is a flag set that does do that, but this particular set of flags does not utilize that.
Wait, I have the mirrored shield. I can do this.
Oh, this is Tornell's favorite set of enemies. Every time Tornell runs into mummies, he dies. It's like customary at this point.
You get turned to stone, and you eventually, the stone is only temporary. You'll eventually, you'll turn to stone temporarily, and then you'll turn back. But, the thing is, the enemies don't stop moving, and a lot of them will whack right into you, and by the time you turn back to stone, well, you'll be dead, so...
Yeah. Dude, we're up to 8.
Wow.
8, no flight.
Are you sure you didn't invite Goes into this one?
Maybe I did.
Goes and Gata is the guy we're talking about, and he loved during the tournament. He loved seeing the mimics, and anytime that someone would get close to that point, the commentary became less about finishing the seed and more about finding the last mimic. So when we make jokes about mimic percent, we make talk about Gozen, it's because Gozen got really, really excited about mimics. Oh, well, that is very useful.
There's still a lot of different places that, that we can go.
Yeah, he hasn't been to Mount Hydra yet. Mount Hydra has 1, 2, 3, 4 items you can access right now. No, 3. But he's going to go after Mado 1. This is another one of the required bosses to finish the game. You can see the Ninja Cannonball himself here bouncing around the screen, shooting off shurikens. He's actually very slow right now. When he comes back, he will not be this slow. He will move as fast as your projectiles do, which means there's no dodging him. If he wants to hit you, he's going to hit you. So this is actually, the first fight against Mado is pretty simple. Like I said, he's not particularly fast, and he doesn't fire off many projectiles either. He's just kind of a warm-up. When you play the game normally, in the vanilla game, each one of the bosses, you will have a bracelet, which gives you something that's called battle magic, and it's the level 3 charge. It consumes some MP to use, but does a very strong elemental attack. Normally he's weak against water, and what the water one does is it fires a spiral of shurikens out that move in and out across the screen. And it's basically designed to be able to blast Mado wherever he goes. Did you just shoot Stom?
But he didn't talk to him. He didn't talk to him, so he's all right.
Yeah,
he fired the shot to.
Warning shot.
It's a wake-up shot.
Yeah.
As we mentioned, as long as you don't talk to them, they'll all remain asleep forever.
So we said that that there's still a lot of places, but that list of places that are open is starting to shrink because we did the waterfall cave. We did Mado. We're coming here. We may have to go to the back of Goa if we
possible.
don't see. Yeah.
You have to go through Mado too. Gonna have to do some shopping.
Yep. So you can actually buy armor, and that would, help his defense quite a bit. And in this game, in the randomizer, we mentioned that the prices for the consumables scales up, but the prices for armor actually scales down. So as you get further, you can afford the more expensive armor more easily. Not only is the price scaling down, but the amount of gold that you're getting from enemies is coming up. So it sort of comes in both ways, and you really are able to get the armor. But then at the same time, you kind of rather hope you get the best armor that comes from the drops in some of the chests. There's the Psycho armor and the Battle armor. We haven't seen any of those yet. Sho is still walking around armorless.
Dude, look at him. He's wearing a tank top. What a boss. I don't know about you, but if I was out there in a pair of jeans and a tank top saving the world like Rambo, I'd be afraid too.
We got the alarm flute. That opens up a couple checks, although we can only get to one of them right now, so...
Okay.
Something like it.
We just got paralyzed. Now, paralyzed, we haven't talked about what paralysis does yet. It actually prevents you from charging your sword. So, he can't actually break any walls. So what he's hopefully looking for here is a nice, easy enemy that could petrify him. Like these Medusas. Or, something that poisoned him. One of the two. But yeah, Medusas are, they move completely randomly and they never stop moving. And they're not your friend. So, they will not cooperate with you at all. They're going to do whatever they want to do. And he's just got to hope and pray that they decide to do something useful, because otherwise, yeah, he's gonna be waiting a minute.
Okay, there we go.
Good.
So these Medusas, they keep moving off screen, but they move slower when they're off screen. So if you can kind of get them to fire a shot and then move so that they're off screen, you're pretty safe.
So
and we have another one of these shadows that fires the paralyzed beams.
Yeah, these are... Oh.
But the thing is, if you're paralyzed and if you have a shot charged up and you get paralyzed, you get to keep that shot charged up and fire that one shot while you're still paralyzed.
Chest.
Awesome.
All right, time to go visit the axe chest. That's beautiful. So the key to Stixie,
I gotta go buy herbs.
you'll notice that that is a misspelled key. It's actually spelled STXY. Now, normally in the original Japanese game Godslayer, that was known as the Gates of Hell. So they were trying to change it to the River Styx, but they screwed up the spelling. So it's now the Cave of Stixie. STXY Stixie. Now, I'm not entirely sure what he's doing. Oh, you're going for warp boots.
Yeah, so he didn't have warp boots, and he didn't have, so he's got teleport, a spell that lets him warp, but he didn't have any MP, and he's also triggered the kidnapping, and so he doesn't have an inn in Leaf. So we had to make a little walk of shame here to a town where he could actually go to an inn.
Oh yeah, that's right. In this version, the NPCs are gone. That's a difference. So in the current version, the shopkeepers within the town of Leaf, they actually stay there when the rest of the NPCs get kidnapped. Not in this version. So yeah, he had to make the walk of shame.
So what actually triggers that is if you have to talk to Zebu and go behind him in there. And so Sho actually did that earlier. That means since he talked to Zebu, he can actually see the disciple back in the cave and and use that alarm flute if he wants. But Stixie has, well, okay, so since we don't have flight, there are, the right side of Stixie, the items there are all on the other side of a river that you can't get to. Oh, and we're gonna need...
Yeah, we gotta plow through these statues here, and, Sho forgot to put his shield on and equip his shield ring, which would have reduced that damage by a ton.
No one needs those things.
No, your face is a great shield, you're right.
Luckily, we've got a lot of MP and the refresh spell to heal ourselves with.
Yeah, that would have been something special otherwise.
So we can get all these chests on the left side, except that we're going to have to, without the flight spell, we have to sort of go around and hope that these spiders don't paralyze us.
So within this room is the chest we were joking about earlier called the Axe Chest. And the Axe Chest is called the Axe Chest for our very own Axeman here. And...
yeah, I may have missed that chest, you know, and it may have been at a live event. And I may have, you know, checked every chest in the game again to try and finish. But yeah, especially if you're practicing the vanilla speedrun or, you know, not used to going through here without flight, it's kind of easy to miss that chest. In this case, Opal Statue is nice to have, but it's not a required item. So we've only got one more item in here. And then we may be going back into Goa there and taking on Maida. Let's see.
yeah, these green wyverns here, they also paralyze. So that could be brilliant too.
If you don't mind stabbing the
Holy.
enemies. Oh.
Now that is interesting. So the hazmat suit is a renamed gas mask. And what the gas mask does is it allows you entrance into the poison swamp without taking environmental damage. It also prevents you from taking damage when walking over damaged tiles like spikes or poison swamps. So in this case, he has the ability to now visit the town of Oak, which does open up one additional check at Stom's Hut in Bryn Mawr, or Cordell Plains, actually. But yeah, he does have a couple of checks here he can make.
Oh, the other key.
Okay, so now the plot thickens, because with that, he now has full access to clearing all of Mount Saber North. Because the glitches are on, Rabbit Skip is on, so he doesn't need telepathy to talk to the rabbit to get access to it. And he already has the teleport spell, which removes the trigger on the Cordell Plains side, so he's got full access to Mount Saber North at this point. And he still has Oak he can check too, so he just got a lot of more possible things to do outside of going back to Goa Fortress.
So Mount Saber North actually has multiple barriers that in order to kind of get through these triggers glitchlessly, you have to have the teleport spell to get through the first one, which is on the lower side of the Mount Saber South entrance. On the other side, there's another barrier that in order to clear that one, you have to trigger the kidnapping, which Sho has done, and then you have to talk to a rabbit or a dog that's inside a hut in Leaf, and they tell you, hey, the bad guys came and kidnapped everyone, except that you have to have the telepathy spell in order to do that. So, but there's a glitch in the vanilla version where that second barrier actually has a hole in it. You can just walk right through.
Yeah, it actually is the exact same width as the player's hitbox, so you can walk right between both of the triggers.
Yeah, I actually discovered this. So I was the task author for this game, and one of the first things I did when I was, routing it out, I made a script that showed all the hitboxes for everything, and I could see the hitboxes on some of these barriers and triggers, and I saw, wait a minute, this barrier has a big hole in it. I could just walk right through.
Yeah, all triggers in this game are actually exactly the same size. And so they put 2 triggers next to each other and didn't think anybody was going to be able to walk between them or that they would figure it out. Well, we did. And we use it.
But you're sleeping. That's the problem, Tom. You're actually asleep.
So as you noted, yeah, he walked in between. He walked on a specific set of like doodads that are on the floor. That's our visual cue for where to walk.
There's also another way to skip the lower barrier, which is to use the flight. If you have a flight and you fly across the river from either Bryn Mawr or Amazons, then you can the first trigger that pushes you back won't even spawn, and so you can walk right through. But without flight, you have to have teleport in order to kind of get through there glitchlessly. There's also a more powerful trigger skip glitch that can do it. And Sho could do that, but it's not in logic in these flags or any of the flags in this version of the randomizer.
Yeah, that trigger skip is called Holy Grail skip because it was like the final thing that we thought was going to be able to break the game. And it was finally discovered how to do it. And it changed a lot of stuff because it works on a lot of triggers. That's a consumable. Another really fun thing here as we're going through Mount Saber North is that, as Axe was talking about with the flying over the river, maps that are very large, they only load a certain portion of the map because the games can only hold so many objects at any given time. So what they do is they split the map into different sections. So, like it's only currently loading this small area in between a couple of caves here on the map, but when he goes out into the main area, which is like when he came out of Nadare's, the inn, there's actually what they call seamless transitions, where they function the same way as like a cave entrance does, but they don't actually show up as a cave entrance, and the screen actually never loads. But if you see an enemy on screen when you go through one of those seamless transitions, it'll just instantly despawn. And that's because the game literally unloads everything that's currently in the in the object data, and then has to reload all the new stuff. And so what you're doing is that when you go from the left side of the map and you jump over the river, you miss the seamless transition that's on the bridge. And what that does is that never loads up the objects on the right side of the map, which includes the trigger that normally prevents you from going up on the mountain. So that's how, these maps work. They function in sections.
So if you have the flight spell, you can easily just fly up this. There's an ice, this ice slide that goes all the way up from the bottom, right by that little lodge, all the way up to the top where the boss is, and you can just fly right up that. But we don't have flight, so we've got to take the long way around.
Yeah, so the flight spell really breaks a lot of things in this game. It's not intended to be given to the player until the very end of the game. So many of the maps, which have all these, intricate mazes and things, they don't really do anything. Talk to him.
The best line.
Literally the best line in the entire game comes from that NPC right there. So you saved us, big deal. What a great NPC.
Big deal.
What an appreciative set of NPCs right there.
I think I can talk to I can talk to Tornell, the tornado bracelet.
You sure can. That is exactly what he was looking for. You also now have a level 3 charge that you can sword charge glitch for making use of for different bosses. Today, Kelbesk is going to be weak against fire, so this is the first iteration of Kelbesk, and it's actually the far more difficult version between the two. Normally, he's fought very early in the game, so he's not particularly dangerous, but when he starts getting scaled up, he gets really nasty. He plays kind of like a linebacker, and he just kind of runs around, bodies you, and spawns projectiles all over the place. Far more dangerous than the version in Goa Fortress, which stops every 2 seconds to shoot a laser beam at you.
Ah!
The barrier.
Woo! The item, everybody.
Nice. So if you have the barrier spell, you can sort of just laugh and dink away all his little snowflakes.
Well, you now have a ball for all 4 swords. But it looks like we're going right back to Goa. Time to figure out what Mato 2's weak against.
Yeah, this will be a lot easier.
He does have an opal statue, and he has the warrior ring. So the warrior ring is rather incredible. What it does is it allows you to fire a level 1 charge shot every time you stab the sword. So essentially, as fast as you can mash the button with every sword besides thunder, you can just shoot projectiles.
We still didn't pick up any armor, though.
Oh. So he's going to have to hope that Mato, he wins the DPS race against Mato. So you can see here, he doesn't have to charge anymore. He now just is going to fire off these projectiles. This is going to make grinding for the rest of the game just kind of being what it is. He's not really going to have to stop to actually try to fight. Most things are just going to die while he's moving around.
I do have a donation here.
Let's get it!
We have a donation from Edgeworth in the amount of $20. Comment, just figured I should show my support. Thank you very much, Edgeworth for the $20. It's much appreciated, and it will go towards helping a very good cause.
Thanks, Edge.
Edgeworth coming through with a nice donation here during the run.
And
much appreciated.
At least I don't have to fight these bosses.
This is true. Bosses do not respawn. So a little bit of fun history for you here about this randomizer. In the very beginning, when we first started shuffling chests, we shuffled the mimics in with the boss pool, and every time we would kill a boss, we'd like inch up to the chest to make sure that the mimic wouldn't kill us. But that came with a terrible side effect, because the flag that requires that actually tells the game that the boss is dead comes when you pick up the chest. Well, a mimic never goes away and never sets the flag, so if you were to leave the room and come back, the boss respawns forever, because you can never get rid of the boss since there's no item to pick up. As time went on, we had to take those out of the pool, but it was a fun bit of, thing that happened for a while. Whenever you'd kill a boss, and you'd look at that chest like it was something dangerous, because you never knew if it was going to try to eat you or if it was going to give you the flight spell. At least Sho doesn't have to worry about that in this seed.
Alright, back to the Hellway again.
A much easier Hellway.
Yeah, fortunately there are no specters in this hallway.
So if we're really lucky, what we'll see at the end here is we'll see
Wow.
we'll see the shell flute rather than flight, and it'll be required to actually flight will actually be on Evil Spirit Island instead of.
Sho does not want to see flight on Evil Spirit Island. Sho wants to see flight right here on Mado 2 so that he can breathe a sigh of relief.
That would be nice.
Dude, you'll notice the bats are starting to really coalesce and swarm. He's shooting them all down because they're coming. Oh, nice. We got a Thunder Week Mado. So, okay, as I mentioned before, Mado 2 is very fast. He decides when he wants to hit you and where he wants to hit you. You have no say in the matter. And Sho here, as we mentioned, has no actual physical defense other than what his level is. So Mado here is going to take a nice big McGruff out of him every time he bops him. Now, the one thing that's nice here is he does have an opal statue, but he killed him. Easy.
Yeah, no problem.
Oh, speed boot.
Nice.
Speed boost
Okay,
now. It's so late.
Hey, you know what? You still have half the game to explore. What are you talking about?
True.
So let's talk about speed boots for a minute. So the speed boots are a new item that was created specifically for the randomizer. And what they do is they replace an item in the base game called the leather boots, which are hot garbage. They are a dumpster fire on your feet. They basically don't do anything because by the time that you get them, their effect is useless. So you get the rabbit boots very early in the game, which allow you to jump through all the poison swamps and over the spikes and things like that so that they don't actually damage you. The leather boots lets you walk through those same exact void zones that you already weren't taking damage from. So it doesn't do anything. And so what we did is we repurposed those into an item that increases your move speed. And it's awesome. It's absolutely awesome. If you can find those early in a scene, they will save you minutes of exploration. I mean, this is a large game, and you've seen just how much exploration there is within this game. And when he hasn't put the boots on yet, but they basically move you about 30% faster than what you normally move. There's only one mimic left in the game. We're at 10.
Wow. That is a mimic count. Wow.
That is fantastic.
And all consumables and mimics. We got a statue of Onyx.
Now, here's something great. If you look at what's left in the game, as far as like trade-ins and locations, Evil Spirit Island and Sabera's Castle are like outside of a couple of minor checks here and there, are kind of all that's left. So it's an extremely high likelihood that we're going to get this mimic percent here. Oh no, there are 12. That's right, there's 12. Now, an interesting thing is the table that contains the mimics can contain up to 16, which means that, you know, you could expand the number of mimics in the game up to 16. That's being done, by the way. Oh, dude, that one hurts. That hurts. The Fruit of Lime is actually completely worthless. It is a consumable item that removes petrification. Petrification, in most cases, is actually more beneficial than it is detrimental. Oh, here we go. Now we got the speed boots on, so Lightning McQueen here is going to be flying through the rest of the game. Ah, yes, the one trade-in item you don't have yet.
But I do have paralysis now.
If we're really lucky, it's a vanilla flight with, you know...
Oh, dude, wouldn't that be beautiful? He'd have to come all the way back through the whole fortress again when Kensu and Swan gives him the the love pendant.
So that leather boots effect that we were talking about has been moved to the gas mask, which is now called the hazmat suit because it has this upgrade.
11. We're almost there.
I didn't say that, right? Oh, 12.
That's 11. Whoa, and we're down to
Wow.
1.
That's right. I can check Arilys now because she wanted Onyx. Or, yeah, I think she wanted Onyx.
That's correct. Man, if Kensu's got flight, I think the chat's gonna be a little excited.
God,
And you know Axe and I are gonna sit here and goad you the whole time, right? Every time you get a check and it's not flight,
yeah.
you're gonna be going, yes, it's gonna be on that Kensu. Be rubbing my hands together every check.
Ah! Woo! Got it.
No! Well, I mean, Kensu was holding flight, but it's the wrong Kensu.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations, sir. You now have the rest of the seed open to you.
Yeah.
So now you got to find that Bow of Sun, and you got to finish killing a couple more bosses.
That's true.
So at this point, here's what he's got left. He has Evil Spirit Island, which contains Sabera's Castle and Sabera 1. He has to fly through the desert to get to the pyramid, where Dragon, the first encounter with Dragon is, and he has to find the Bow of Sun to get him access to the crypt. That's it. Then we're in go mode. So he's almost in bow and go.
Oh, really? May as well check it.
Okay. So the eyeglasses are an item that normally is acquired after you've completed Sabera's area. And an NPC named Clark gives them to you. And it opens a secret passage that lets you get to this lighthouse that he's going to right now. And the lighthouse has another version of our old buddy Kensu. And he's going to blow a horn in his face to wake him up. He's got an air horn here. And he's going to say he should be eaten by zombies, but he's actually got much more colorful language in the Japanese version. Nice, a flame bracelet. Dude, he's ready for the end of the game at this point.
Give me the power ring.
That would be nice. Definitely would be nice. So the power ring has a different effect here in the randomizer than it does in the base game. In the base game, the power ring adds 1 damage per level that you have gained. In the randomizer, it adds a flat amount of damage based on what your charge level is. So if you have level 1 charge, it adds 2 damage. If you have level 2 charge, it adds 4. And if you have level 3 charge, it adds 8. So it is directly proportionate to the power level of your sword currently. And that turret was wonderfully placed.
Ah! There's a shell flute, everybody.
Great success. That is entirely workless at this point. So the shell flute is what allows you to call the dolphin to move around on the ocean, but since he already has flight, that's not doing him anything. Dude, look at this turret. It's putting in work.
So there's really only one item he needs now, but we have no idea where it could be. It could be anywhere, so we pretty much have to keep checking everything as we go.
Well, at least I know the Sword of Thunder is not here.
Well, the other fun thing is that you
There
found
it is.
almost every consumable and mimic in the game. There's the bow.
Well,
So we're in
It's
go
now-
mode.
Yeah, so really almost every chest and every check he would come across is almost assuredly to be something useful because, you know, he's still got at least 11 more points of scaling, and there's probably only about 14 chests left. So yeah, he's running out of he was running out of stuff that was not useful. But you know what does kind of suck? We haven't found the 12th mimic yet, and he's gonna stop making checks here soon.
oh no.
I say we riot, chat. Check that chest. Check that chest. You gotta see those 12 mimics. So there's 2 chests here in Sabera's castle. He will not be checking either one of them. Vampire 2 here. Basically a scaled up version of the one that we saw at the beginning, just a little more HP. Still annoying.
Nobody wants recover.
He also has he's also strong to one of the swords, whereas the vampire in the beginning is weak to all of the swords.
Here's the thing. None of the chests that he's going to be required to check there, Stom, can possibly be a mimic because they're all boss triggers. So, yeah, he's going to have to go out of his way if he wants to find that 12th mimic. Now, it depends on if he really wants the power ring, because there are some chests he could check relatively close by. Check that chest. Check that chest. He's looking at his timer and going, I would, but
Yeah.
No, telepathy, no!
Yes!
I don't want it.
Of course, we still don't have armor either.
And we do not have
Right.
armor.
But you know what? You got a free item from Dio on the way through now that you have telepathy. Oh, hi, Bert. There was that sorcerer that was right outside the Goa entrance there. That is Bert. Normally he is found in the Cave of Styxy, guarding the Sword of Thunder on the left side there. And his brother Bert is over on the right side, guarding the Psycho Shield, which Sho never went to today.
Huh, got all the magic rings I needed.
Great success.
I could potentially be very afraid of checking that chest.
So he's going to make his way into the pyramid here. The flight spell is required to have gotten over these whirlpools that you've seen around, like these ones that are right here in the front of the pyramid. Any place that has those is only flight accessible. So he wasn't able to get to the town of Sahara or any of this without having the flight spell. So the pyramid here, he's going to check one more chest. Come on, Mimic! Oh, a Psycho Shield.
Oh.
Well, okay, the Psycho Shield is extremely useful. So not only does it have a great defense value, but it also protects against both petrification and paralysis. So he no longer is able to be petrified or paralyzed anymore. And it's time to meet our big baddie here, Dragon. And he's a green dude in a cape. Oh, wow.
Oh! Easy mode for in-game. Ah, there's a love pendant! Wow, alright.
Well, we're not going back for that one.
Alright.
I vote check the crypt chests.
$42. Okay.
Alright, so this is the area that I was talking about. This is the crypt on the backside. So there are two statues here that have a moon overhead and a sun overhead. And the only indication that you're supposed to use the bow of sun and moon is those icons that are above those two lion statues. Otherwise, there is nothing in the game that tells you you need to find those two bows. And frankly, they're both pretty damn well hidden too.
I am, however, going to have to do the Dynafight in the non-traditional way.
That's right, we never got barrier.
Barry was on the whirlpool.
We never got barrier, power ring, or armor.
No, it was probably in one of these chests here in the crypt that someone didn't check. Okay, so going into the penultimate final boss here, he's going to use the Bow of Truth and reveal Dragon's true form. Now, Dragon is a unique fight compared to every other boss in the game in that he's not actually able... Never mind, he just opened up immediately. So, normally what happens is you can't actually damage him when that center core part is not open. But what is this RNG?
Whoa!
What is this?
You're
Wow.
making Overswarm jealous.
Well, too bad I didn't have the power ring. I didn't kill him.
He moves back and forth in the room, and he's got a number of different attack patterns that he can do. He can shoot off the balls that bounce around the room. He spits lasers out. He tackles you on the bottom, and then when he opens up the core in the middle, he shoots lasers out like this. And this is the only time that he's actually vulnerable. And you know, he got he got a really good pattern, all things considered.
If
Yeah,
you
that
do,
fight can be pretty painful.
yes, if you
So
do
something-
suffer epilepsy, make sure you turn away now.
Yeah.
The lag storm spell does actually flash the screen repeatedly, and he's going to be using it on every enemy throughout this entire tower. So yeah, if you do suffer from epilepsy, I do recommend not watching this last section here. So
That's because Tom, you're always sleeping.
So unfortunately, he does not have the power ring, so his actual damage output here is lower than what he would like. And so, you know, it's going to take a fair number of additional hits on top of these lag storms to be able to kill these things. So as we mentioned before, the battle magics, as you're seeing, are, you know, specialized attacks that when you charge up to level 3 you can use, and they consume a portion of mana. The Thunderstorm spell uses 40 mana for every cast, and it's a screen-wide attack. It hits 8 times, and it hurts. It just doesn't hurt enough to be able to kill these in one go. These white robots are the strongest enemies in the game, period. It's not a boss.
Now, there is a recently discovered glitch that lets you trigger skip, and you can actually despawn the enemies in the higher levels, and you only have to beat the first level. It's pretty convenient, but I think it was... Well, actually, I don't think it's disabled in this version of the randomizer, but
No,
you may not know it.
It had not yet been discovered in this version of the randomizer, but in the current version, it's already been patched out.
All right.
Oh, so if I'd gone and learned it, I could have done it.
Absolutely.
But then you know, you lose out on the pleasure of going through the second, the top 2 floors of the tower.
I just want to let you guys know, time is going to be coming up here in just a couple of minutes. He's going to finish out this level of the tower. He's got one more floor above this. Then he's going to get the sword Crystalis, and it's off to the final boss. And the final boss fight takes about 20 seconds. So once he gets into that fight, it's, you know, we'll call for time. I'll let you know when it's a little closer. I just want to let you guys know to be prepared. Because we are very close at this point. Essentially, the way that the tower works here is that you kill the bronze robots on the floor, and then that spawns in the white robots, and when you clear all the white robots, the next set of stairs appears to the next floor. There's 3 floors that are necessary to clear through like this before you actually can get to the top. And there's a little bit of story here in between each one of the floors that he's mashing through as fast as possible, because who cares about story? This is a randomizer. And so basically, you know, he's just trying to get to the top as fast as possible. Now, with a little bit of luck, sometimes what will happen is the white robots will come out of the hole, and they'll immediately walk the direction of the next group. And you can just let them run over there and burn them all down at once. But none of them have been particularly cooperative today.
This is also a lot easier with barrier because you can, you know, block their shots, which means that you can go in and stab them, and there's actually a lot of different ways to handle these guys. This is probably for sure the easiest and the safest one is using, you know, this combination, Sword of Thunder and Warrior Ring.
All right, so he has achieved the namesake of the game.
No! Dang it.
Crystalis sword. He walked a little bit to the left. And we're on to the final boss. So the final boss here is Dinah, which is the core of the tower. And he has to actually shoot the heart that's in the center. There's that blue section. Now, if he goes there, these little side pods that are on the side that are spraying bullets everywhere, they actually fire a counterattack when you shoot the core in the middle, and it will destroy him. It does like 128 damage. And, you know, he doesn't have barrier to be able to absorb it. So, yeah, it will completely destroy him. Oh, that was really unfortunate. So, if you noticed, when he got the Crystalis sword, he still kept his charge level at the bottom. And so what that meant is that the sword continued to keep the power level of the power that he had from before. However, when he opened up the menu there, the game reinitialized all of his equipment, and now he's back to level 1. So he just lost 6 damage for every shot that he's shooting out now. And because of that, it's going to take a little longer to take down Dinah here. So as soon as Dinah explodes and the screen goes black, we're going to be calling for time, so get ready. It's coming up here in just a moment. GG, sir. Dinah down. And...
Time.
Woohoo! GG show.
Thank you for all the
Nice run,
GGs.
man. That was actually a very interesting seed, all things considered, especially because Flight was buried as far as it was. If Flight had been in this seed early, it probably would have been about 20 minutes faster. No joke.
Yeah, thanks for all the GGs, guys. I appreciate that. Yeah, that was a good run. You know, I've been averaging about hour 20, hour 30. Only a couple of them have been a little over, so that's why I gave myself a nice buffer, an hour and 45. But still ahead of estimate. I finished under my estimate.
Great success.
Great success. And then in the credits here, we have a wonderful, wonderful name we have to shout out here.
Oh, you know it.
That's right.
So in a sea of Japanese game creators, one man dares to stand out amongst all the rest of them. We got to get ready to shout it out here. I'm going to do it. It's going to be a little delayed, but I don't care.
Gotta say, the music in this game is great.
Oh,
Absolutely.
And I don't think that's Yoko Ono as the composer. Just letting you guys know.
Here we go.
And Jeff Peters!
Jeff Peters!
And as we watch the tower just fall, but no explosion, so obviously, you know.
No, it lands safely. No one is harmed.
Oh, okay.
Just like in the massacre of Shiren, if you don't talk to them, they don't actually perish.
Yeah. Well, I definitely wanted to thank SpeedCon for letting me do this run. If you are interested, we do have a Discord for the Crystalis Randomizer. And also, we talk about the vanilla speedrun there, too. So if you're interested in the vanilla speedrun there, bringing that world record down quite a bit, a lot recently. So it's like 50, under the 53-minute mark or something like that.
Yeah, I think it's 53:28.
Jeez. So, yeah, I want to thank...
He's been putting in work.
Yeah, and so I want to thank Axeman and Matrick for doing commentary on this. You know, go give them a follow; they're awesome. And keep watching SpeedCon. It looks like up next we have Diablo by Captain EXO. So any percent, and looks like there was a bid war for what class it's going to be.
Yep, I have that. So once again, Show, thank you for the run and your comms as well. We are going to probably take a slight intermission while they are getting set up for the next run, which is going to be Diablo, as Show had said. And there was a bid war for this, and Sorcerer actually won with $125. Fighter was behind with 100, and I think Rogue had 8. So it will be a sorcerer run for Captain EXO. And yeah, that does it for my hosting shift as well. I will be turning it over to Catbro, who will be taking over for the next 3 to 4 hours. So yeah, stay tuned, and I guarantee you the Diablo run is going to be a good one. So thanks for having me for a couple hours to flap my gums and stuff, and you guys all have yourselves a good night.
Have a good night, everybody. Thank you again.